Hi YouTube, my name is Jack, and today we're going to talk about my personal magic. The thing I've been thinking about a little bit lately is how much of my current spiritual, religious, magical practice is not really about me. And right, specifically, I'm thinking about my role as a coven leader. So for anyone who is new to this channel behind the plot, I moved to Salt Lake City, Utah at this point about 2.5 years ago. And with that, I was the only Gardnerian initiate in the state of Utah, so I have been working on getting a Gardnerian group up and running here by myself, which has posed a variety of challenges, but it's been really rewarding, very, very meaningful. But it's a lot of work. I mean, running a group is always a lot of work. That's true in an initiatory context. That's true if you're just doing like an open moot once a month. That people, well, at any time you're trying to organize a group of any kind, it's a very high amount of effort, and it can be exhausting. It can be taxing. But especially doing it alone, bootstrapping, doing by yourself, it takes a lot out of you, right? So I'm running the Seekers group. I'm also running the Coven, which, right, in an ideal situation, one person wouldn't be running alone, and especially not a man, but it's kind of where we are. And so I'm kind of single-handedly doing the training for everyone in the Seekers group and then everyone in the Coven in order to kind of keep all the plates spinning so that people in the Seekers group can progress toward being ready for the Coven, so that people in the Coven can get more familiar with the way that we do ritual, the way that we do magic, the kind of the structure of our tradition, in order to get their own feet under them. And at some point, right, when people are experienced and grounded in the tradition, they can take on more responsibilities and alleviate some of that. But right now, no one is familiar enough with the tradition to be able to do that, which is okay. They shouldn't need to, right? As a recent initiate, your job is to learn. Your job is to show up and be new and have questions and kind of fumble around in the dark, and that's okay. That's the place that you're supposed to be as a new initiate. That's part of what the experience of initiation is supposed to give you. And so it's really important that I, as a group leader, am facilitating that experience for people and am giving them room to have that spiritual growth. I'm giving that room to have that period of discovery. But it also means that right now, I'm the only one keeping all the plates spinning. And that's not a bad thing, but it takes a lot out of me. It's a lot to be coming up with curriculum and training for the Seekers group and writing rituals and then managing everything that we need to do in the Coven, which obviously I'm not going to get into specifics of, but like it takes a lot of my time and it takes a lot of my energy. And what I find is that there's not a ton left over for me to just kind of do magic on my own and for my own benefit, right? Still doing magic, still doing ritual, but the magic and ritual that I do these days are almost entirely in the context of the Coven or the Seekers group. There's very, very little of me just doing something on my own for my own benefit, right? I'm doing very little experimental work right now. I'm not like fucking around and being like, oh, let's like try some necromancy and, you know, try this new technique that I read about in a book, or maybe it's something that I have come up with and I've been wanting to do for a while, or, you know, let's go for a hike and make some offerings to the spirit of the waterfall that is at the top of that particular trail. Like, I'm not doing a lot of that. And I think that's a very normal thing. It's a thing that you hear a lot of Coven leaders talk about, that as they step into a role of Coven leadership, their relationship to magic and ritual changes. And right, taking on a role of Coven leadership means putting yourself in a position of service more than anything else. Leadership is an act of service. And right now, because I'm the only person who's in that leadership position, most of my magical energy is going towards service. And that's a choice that I made. It's a choice that I made with clear eyes. I knew that that was going to be the commitment that I was signing up for. It's rewarding. I'm glad to have done it. Wouldn't do it differently if I had the chance. But it's a change. It's a change for sure. I was talking recently with a couple of friends who are initiates, who are just doing like really fun, interesting, experimental stuff with their own personal magic. And I sort of had this thought of like, God, it's like being the friend who's married with kids when you have other friends who are still single and who are going whatever, like on these expensive vacations, or they're going out clubbing every Saturday night or whatever it might be. And you're like, yeah, I put the kids to bed at 8 and then got real spicy and had a glass of wine before bed. Like right now, that's my magical life. Is I have friends who are jet setting off to Bali, and I'm putting the kids to bed at 8. Well, that's a little. I don't want to infantilize the members of the Seekers group or the Coven. They are full-grown adults with agency, and like it's not a parental dynamic, and I don't mean to suggest that it is. It's just that in terms of kind of the excitement level of my life, I have stepped into a phase of my magical life where it's not fireworks right now. And it's okay that it's not fireworks, because I really, really love the work that we're doing in these groups. I think I have a really good crew of people. They bring a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different backgrounds. They're curious, they're thoughtful, they're open. Like, it's a great time, and I get so much out of it. But I also, remember more experimental phases in my own magical life, where I was really just like trying new things and trying things that weren't necessarily part of my tradition or part of Wicca, but that I just was like, hey, I really want to get more into this kind of magic, or I really want to learn more about this thing. And I'm not doing a lot of that right now, because I just don't have the energy for it. And I think that may change over time, but it's probably not going to change soon. I think that probably for the next, at least I would say the next maybe 2 years, this is where I am, and this is kind of where I'm going to continue to be. And then, yeah, a couple of years from now, I think things are probably going to shift. Not going to be, I'm not going to be going out clubbing every night or jet setting off to Bali, but I think that in a couple of years, things will be stable and kind of settled enough in the Coven that I'll be able to go a little bit on cruise control. Not like there's still a great deal of active effort that goes into Coven leadership, and that is true at all stages, right? You don't ever want to just like neglect your Coven, because it is an act of service, and when you sign up for that, you sign up for it in the long term. But a couple of years from now, we'll have people who know the tradition well enough that I'm not the only one who's kind of helping keep that ship afloat. And I think when we get to that point, there will be a little bit more breathing room for me. So, which I don't know. It's just a thing I'm reflecting on. Again, like I don't mean to sound like I'm whining. I don't mean to make it seem like this is a thing I'm unhappy about or upset about. It's just, yeah, like I said, I was talking to a couple of friends who were doing really cool experimental stuff, and I was like, oh, that's not where I am in my magical life right now. But at the same time, like I love what we're doing in the Coven. I love what we're doing in the Seekers group. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I think during Midsummer, it probably was, I articulated this thought to myself that like this thing that we do is so weird. Like it's so genuinely weird, and I think from the inside we sometimes forget how extremely transgressive it is. But boy, I really couldn't imagine my life without it. I really couldn't. And I value it so much. So I'm so, so happy to have the kind of micro level community. And then the larger community of my tradition and of initiatory Wicca more broadly. But it's just interesting seeing where it's taking me right now, and that my priorities, my energy are really going toward magical service to that micro community, much more than to like personal experimentation or personal magical work outside of that group context, which is what a lot of my magical work in the past has been. So it's also affecting my writing, right? Like I have a manuscript that I'm working on and it really doesn't want to write itself. It's the hardest time I've ever had writing a book. I put it down for almost a year and walked away and then came back to it. And then like it's slow going. Part of that is that it's just really hard subject matter to write about. And I'm not gonna talk about what the subject matter is in case this book never gets written, because I don't want to, make promises that I don't deliver on. But part of it is that it's hard subject matter to write on, but part of it I think also is just that like running the Seekers group and running the Coven takes up so much of my magical energy. And I haven't yet hit a point where I can really easily balance that with the amount of energy that I devote to writing. So, and I miss writing. I still do a little bit of it. I'll, open up the document and tap out 500 words. But it's slow going. And a lot of that is just, yeah, I spend so much time on the Seekers group in the Coven, and there's not as much of me left over as the writing really requires. And that will change with time. I'll get back to it. Short video today. That's about all I have. Thank you for watching. For those of you in the US, obviously today is Independence Day. Don't love that. Not a fan of American nationalism right now, but if you are doing something with family or friends, I hope you have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon. Bye.